Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex. We're here in Silverstone for round 8 of the 2022 Formula 1 season here for the British Grand Prix. So here is the famous and historic Silverstone circuit, of course built on a former RAF airfield, a very flat circuit compared to some of the others, but still one of the favourites for many drivers, a very exciting circuit to visit every single season. And let's have a look at the starting grid for today's race. On pole position, it is Charles Leclerc who continues his good form by putting in a very strong qualifying lap there, with his teammate locking out the front row once again for Ferrari. Then in third, we have Max Verstappen ahead of Lewis Hamilton on his home Grand Prix. Then Valtteri Bottas manages to qualify 5th ahead of George Russell. Then it's Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez again struggling in qualifying. Then Mick Schumacher is ahead of Esteban Ocon as they round out the top 10, with Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda just about missing out on Q3. Then comes Zhou Guanyu and Pierre Gasly, with Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel behind them. Then as we start to get to the back of the grid, we have Nico Hülkenberg, Lando Norris, with Lance Stroll, Pascal Wehrlein behind them. Now, the final row of the grid is locked out by the Williams team, who have Albon in 21st and Nicholas Latifi in 22nd. Now that we've seen the starting grid, it's time to go down to the actual grid and see all the teams and drivers preparing for today's race. Very overcast scenes here at the Silverstone circuit. Perhaps quite typical British weather there to see the clouds looking a bit like that. Rain is a possibility in this race, but of course it's the British weather, so absolutely anything could happen. So we'll have to wait and see what does happen in the end here. As we see now, the cars are all on the grid. Porsche with a particularly bad qualifying session after some of their previous successes, with both cars starting well down the order, and will have a struggle to get some points out of this race after some really strong performances in the last couple. Someone who is not going to struggle to have a strong performance today, though, will be Charles Leclerc. Starts on the pole position and once again finds himself in, well, a great part of the racetrack. You know, we've seen all season that when Leclerc gets the lead, he doesn't look back, so I think it's going to be crucial that Sainz takes the lead straight away off the start here, but I could be wrong, but I think there's a few drops of rain there, just looking at the onboard here of Wehrlein's car. Just looking to the sides of his helmet into the car, looks like there's a few drops, so we could potentially have some rain involvement quite early on in this race, which will keep things exciting for us, but very light at the moment. But if that picks up, we could definitely see the drivers forced to switch to a different compound of tyre. But yes, now, the drivers are beginning to line up on the starting grid, and it shouldn't be too long now until we get this race up and running, as we now see them just lining up into their grid positions, and we see there are the lights that they'll all be looking at in just a few moments' time as they prepare for the 8th race of the 2022 season here in Alternative Apex and the halfway point of the season. The lights are coming on now, 5 red lights, and we are racing in Silverstone. Can it be another good start for Charles Leclerc? He needs a good start, he gets a good start. He's straight away clear up into the lead. Carlos Sainz in second there, he's held a position, but it's side by side for third there as Verstappen and Hamilton. We've seen these two battle on lap 1 at Silverstone in the past. It looks like they're going to battle again here as they go side by side through Village. Looks like there's a lot of battles throughout the field here as George Russell and Valtteri Bottas are battling behind their teammate and Max Verstappen, as Verstappen now looks like he's going to hold the position on Hamilton, but using that Mercedes top speed, can he fight back on the run down into Brooklands now? Side by side, the two title rivals from 2021 are battling once more here. It's only for third place, but they're still not giving each other an inch. They're still side by side. So they now come out of Brooklands towards Woodcote now. They're side by side. Hamilton looks like he has to back out there. Verstappen's going to stay ahead, but Hamilton might have a run here into Copse Corner. Will he stay behind? He will. Hamilton stays behind. This year he doesn't make the risky move, but up at the front it's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz pulling away out front here in this race and are leading. So you now go to Charles Leclerc here. And it looks like there is still rain falling here at the circuit. Let's see, is there going to be any pit stops? Yes, there is. Charles Leclerc, race leader, isn't going to take any risks. He's got the championship lead now, and we can see sort of, now that camera's slowed down to the pit speed, we can see as everyone is following into the pits here, that there is rain coming down and the drivers are switching to the intermediate tyre. But Carlos Sainz and a select few others are all staying out here, so drama in the early stages of the race, only at the end of lap 2, and already drivers are pitting, or at least some drivers are pitting, for the intermediate tyres. As you now look at Carlos Sainz out on this slippery track, he's going to brave it for another lap and hope that the track isn't getting too bad, because he's got to do an extra lap here. He didn't want to risk the double stack of Ferrari, and the same goes for the likes of George Russell, Sergio Perez and Mick Schumacher, as they also all stay out there, with Leclerc the leader of those who did pit for the intermediate tyres, as now we see Carlos Sainz is into the pit lane and the rain really coming down. Now you can really clearly see it, the spray coming off the back of these cars. It does very much look like intermediate tyre conditions as all these drivers are pulling into the pit lane And this rain, it looks like it came earlier than expected because everyone in the field started on the medium compound of tyre. You'd imagine if they expected the rain this soon, someone at least would have risked it and gone for the soft tyres for the start, but in the end everyone went for the mediums, so this rain really has caught them off guard as we see them start to exit the pits now. Where is Sainz going to be relative to his teammate? He's not going to be able to there. Look, he's already down to 3rd place. Where's Sainz going to come out that extra lap in those wet conditions? It's going to drop him all the way down to 4th place if he's lucky here, because that is, I believe, Lewis Hamilton who's going to be challenging him around the outside. Can he make this move stick on the Ferrari? He will. Brilliant move there by Hamilton as his tyres up to temperature. He's up into 4th position in this race. Bottas is running 3rd here. He's got the strategy absolutely perfect, and Alfa Romeo demonstrating some really strong pace here as Bottas is running up in 3rd position legitimately here. So let's wait and see now as Carlos Sainz is right on the back of Lewis Hamilton. Is he going to brave it down the inside of Copse? He is indeed down the inside of Copse corner. Can he make this move stick? It's going to be close. Tight margins through that corner. It's a risky corner to make a move in the dry, let alone in these intermediate conditions where the grip is at a premium. But now, Carlos Sainz uses that advantage he has in the Ferrari. The car is really becoming the dominant car this season, and he will get up into 4th place here and he'll set his sights on Valtteri Bottas, the next car up the road. As now we see Sergio Perez on the back of George Russell here, wants to try and get past the Briton in his home race down the inside of Stowe. They're both stoked behind Esteban Ocon at the moment, so whoever is ahead is going to now have to get past the Alpine, but they're still side by side on the exit. Now as they make their way down into the Vale chicane, who is going to get ahead here? Got the nose on board here for Sergio Perez. He's got the inside now, coming out of the Vale chicane, going through club corner now. Russell's going to keep himself in the fight here, but as they exit onto the Hamilton straight, it is going to be Perez who gets up into 8th position here, and the next car up the road is Esteban Ocon for him to hunt down in the Alpine, but Perez ahead of George Russell, and George Russell looks like he is not going to be able to fight back anytime soon. Now we look at Carlos Sainz versus Valtteri Bottas here. Bottas with brilliant pace, I think it's fair to say, so far in this race. But it looks like that Ferrari is just a little bit quicker, and understandably so. The much bigger Italian team, as Carlos Sainz looks like he's making the move into the Vale chicane in these wet conditions. Can he pull off the move? Bottas is still side by side with him. He's keeping his nose in this fight. He wants to hold on to this podium position. He doesn't know how many of these chances he's going to get for Alfa Romeo, but in the end, he's had to give up the position. Hamilton now is going to look to make the move down into turn 1 here at Abbey. Down the inside goes Lewis Hamilton. Can he pull this move off? They're going to be side by side now through farm. Towards Village they go. Who is going to get ahead here? The Mercedes, in theory, the better car. But Bottas is putting in a brilliant performance here for Alfa Romeo. That car really coming alive in these intermediate conditions. Bottas still side by side with Lewis Hamilton as they exit. Now down through Aintree and towards the next complex of corners. Who is going to come out on top? It looks like Hamilton's going to be ahead. But they're going to be side by side still. As Valtteri Bottas comes back at him into Brooklands. They're side by side still here. Hamilton doing all he can, and in the end, he's managed to finish off the move, and he is ahead of his former teammate, Lewis Hamilton, up into 4th position. Now on lap 16, car number 16 coming through Stowe Corner. Looks like he's going to be heading down pit lane here. The race leader looks like he's pitting for another set of tyres. The question will be, what set of tyres will it be? Does he go to a set of inters, or does he go to a set of wets? Because this rain has been steadily increasing throughout the race so far. Sainz also wins, so is Verstappen, so most of these cars are all pitting on lap 16 here. Looks like that's the plan, but what tyres will they go to is the question. Now Bottas makes his way down pit lane. As you see now, basically everyone from this lead group is coming down pit lane. George Russell looks like he is going to stay out though, avoiding having to do a double stack with his teammate, but everyone else is coming down pit lane at this stage of the race and getting a fresh set of tyres. The question is, what compound will those fresh tyres be? I believe Charles Leclerc's going to be putting on the intermediate tyres down at Ferrari, but they may well split the strategies at Ferrari, given that, well, I suppose they haven't got much to lose with Carlos Sainz. He's running 3rd at the moment, but with the pace that car has, it may well be worth risking it onto a set of wets, especially if you're very much a Carlos Sainz fan. You'll be wanting to try something different, because at the moment it's not looking like today's going to go the way of the Spaniard. But let's see, he is indeed on the wet compound tyres. The Ferrari driver there on the wet, but his teammate on the intermediate tyres. Crucially, there is a strategy split here at Ferrari. They have gone 2 different ways. The question is, will either way prove to be the correct option? Because if it stays like this, maybe it'll sort of nothing really happen, but if those wets do prove to be the better tyre, then maybe Sainz can get himself into the fight for the win. As we now look further down the order here, Pascal Wehrlein under pressure from Mick Schumacher. Into Brooklands they go. Now towards Luffield, and it looks like Schumacher made the move nice and easily, but then it turns out why he got the moves done so easily was because he broke way too late, missed the corner, and Wehrlein's got back up ahead. I believe Wehrlein is not pitting yet again in this race. Looks like he's trying something different at Porsche. They were just having a dreadful day so far, so it looks like they're going to risk it here and try and hope that they can salvage a point or two. Currently running 11th with Wehrlein, but on old tyres here. I doubt he'll make much progress. And now we see Schumacher on the exit of Chapel, heading down the Hanger Straight. Who is going to be able to get ahead out of Stowe? Looks like it's Verlaine who's going to be able to hold the position. Oh, but it goes a little bit wide. Schumacher slides his way up through Stowe and into 11th position there, putting himself 8.5 seconds behind Pierre Gasly. But maybe if there's another retirement or two ahead, he could get up into the point-favoring positions. But Verlaine is dropping down the order, and he's dropping down the order quickly as Alonso now in the Alpine is going to get down the inside of the German driver through Brooklands. They go into Luffield. This time Alonso can hold his ground going through Brooklands, unlike Schumacher who missed the corner. But Alonso here doesn't look like he can have the grip off the corner, or is he? They're side by side briefly. Now Alonso is going to have to use the slipstream down towards Copse Corner. Zhou Guanyu's right in this fight as well. Is Zhou Guanyu going to go for a big slide there for Alonso? Looks like he got off the line into the wet stuff. Now it's going to allow Zhou down the inside of Copse Corner there. But there's a little bit of contact. Alonso's gone wide. Zhou got very sideways. And that looks like they've roughly stayed where they were, because now with the exit of Chapel down the Hanger Straight, Zhou's going to try and make the move again down the inside. Can the Chinese driver make the move stick here in the Alfa Romeo? His teammates up in the top 5. Zhou has got a lot of pressure on him to start performing, otherwise he may well lose that Alfa Romeo seat. He's a will-to-will with Fernando Alonso, one of the youngest drivers versus one of the oldest. Who is going to come out on top here? Fernando Alonso, he's not going to give up this fight easily. Now they go side by side through the final corner. Alonso will indeed hold the position for now at least, because Zhou is right on the back of him still. Will he go down the inside of turn 1? Is he going to make this one stick? It looks like he is, or is he not? He's not going to be able to make the move on this occasion. Ricciardo now looks like he's right in the mix as well, as he's on the back of Zhou. And Alonso holds off on this occasion now. So we see Sergio Perez is right on the back of Kevin Magnussen here as they go towards the Vale chicane. George Russell still in touching distance of the Red Bull at the moment. But with this traffic here helping out, maybe this is a chance they're going to go side by side in the Vale chicane. Who is going to come out on top here? It's Magnussen versus Perez side by side through here. In these wet conditions, it's very tricky conditions for these drivers at the moment. You can't really underestimate how much they're struggling. But Perez is up into 6th position. He uses that grip of the Red Bull racing car and is going to get up a position. I believe that's Russell now going down the inside of Abbey. He is indeed going down the inside of Abbey. Now the outside of Farm. Now back towards the inside of Village. Who is going to come out on top here? It's George Russell racing Kevin Magnussen here. As now into the loop they go, and it is Russell who gets ahead of the Haas driver, who Kevin Magnussen will be a little bit disappointed there with so little laps left in this race. To drop down a couple of positions now is disappointing for a team like Haas, who have just been trying to get as many points as they can recently now. As we look up to our race leader, Charles Leclerc, who has been utterly dominant so far today. He had the lead off the start, he maintained the lead off of pole, and now through the Vale chicane for the final time, now out through Club Corner, Charles Leclerc, once again in 2022, is your race winner. Brilliant drive from the Monegasque there, as once again, he is just the class of the field. He wins by 8 seconds over Max Verstappen, who does feel some pressure from Sainz towards the end, but Sainz on the wet tyres, the gamble hasn't worked out, and he will finish in 3rd position there, as Hamilton will finish 4th for Mercedes. Not the best result in front of his home crowd, but certainly not the worst that he could have had either. As Valtteri Bottas now in the Alfa Romeo will come home to finish an impressive 5th place for Alfa Romeo, beating Sergio Perez and George Russell there. So a very strong drive for the Finn after his move away from Mercedes. Perez will take 6th position for Red Bull, picking up the scraps with George Russell in 7th. Kevin Magnussen will take home 8th position with Esteban Ocon in 9th, and Pierre Gasly will take the final points paying position today in P10. So here is the Ferrari team celebrating their victory here today. It's a strong drive once again from Charles Leclerc, and it just shows that when you have a driver who's clearly dominant at the moment and a team that's clearly dominant at the moment, that races just aren't perhaps as exciting when it comes to the battle for the win, because Charles Leclerc just absolutely destroyed the field today in those tricky conditions. It really was an extremely impressive drive, and I'm excited, even though that perhaps the championship is beginning to look like it's Leclerc's to lose and Ferrari very much in control of it now. I still think this season can have turns in it, because development of these new cars is so important, so don't lose hope in this title like getting exciting, because I certainly haven't just yet. Leclerc may well be doing well at the moment, but we all know in Formula 1 that it can change very quickly. As Verstappen does take 2nd place, so he is, I suppose, limited the damage today, as he could well have had a much worse finishing position, given some of the strategic choices that Red Bull made with Perez at least, and some of the issues that some other teams have had in those conditions. But take 2nd place behind Leclerc probably feels like a win for Verstappen today, because that is really the best he could have done in those conditions. But yeah, that is it. Your podium for today's race: Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, as this season continues to be looking like Charles Leclerc's to lose. But we're only halfway through the year. There is a long way to go, And I highly recommend you do not go anywhere and stick with us, because this could turn around any second now. But there is the full official results now for today's Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc wins ahead of Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas round out the top 5, with Sergio Perez, George Russell in 6th and 7th. Then Kevin Magnussen, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly round out the points-paying positions, with Mick Schumacher, the first driver to miss out on points today in today's event after starting in 9th place. But now let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship standings. The lead is now 15 points for Charles Leclerc over his teammate. It's only 15 points at the halfway point in the season. It means that anything really can happen from here. A DNF could change everything, and we've seen DNFs happen previously this season. They can happen again. But Carlos Sainz there, 15 points off his teammate Verstappen, 42 points off of the lead at this stage of the season. So he is definitely on the back foot, but he's definitely not out of it. There's definitely a chance to get himself back into this. So Verstappen, I'm sure, will be doing everything he can to try and rally that Red Bull team around him to take the fight to the Ferraris, because so far this season it has just not been what that team would have wanted, as they so far been struggling to fight for victories ever since the very early stages of the season. Now we look to the constructor standings. It's Ferrari who lead the way with an 86-point lead over Red Bull. Mercedes still sitting third. There's Alpine with a less strong day today. Means that they are still in 4th position, but do lose some points to their rivals Alfa Romeo, who take a chunk out of their rivals as they get back up into 5th place. Alfa Romeo and Bottas look like if they can improve or continue to improve on the trajectory they have done in recent races, they can definitely get into the fight with Alpine there for that 4th position in the Constructors. So that is another interesting thing to keep an eye out on this season. But that is it for today's race here in Alternative Apex. I hope you all enjoyed it. I certainly did. Those conditions, the first wet race of the season, meant that we really didn't have much of an idea what to expect. A bit of a split strategy there kept us guessing really towards the end of who was going to come out on top. But in the end, Charles Leclerc continues to impress this season, and I mean, it's honestly, it's whilst the racing for the wins may not be as exciting, it's in a way exciting to know that we're watching history in Charles Leclerc, because he has just been on another level so far this season. So I hope you have all enjoyed it, and I hope you all tune in next time for the Austrian Grand Prix, which I imagine will be quite an exciting race, because, well, that racetrack rarely disappoints. Yes, that is it for this week here in Alternative Apex. I hope you all enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.